Now let's use the create React app package to create a new React application. So here in the terminal, let's run create React app and give our new application a name. Let's call it React app. Now this is going to install React as well as all the third-party libraries we need. So it's going to install a lightweight development server, Webpack for bundling our files, Babel or Babel for compiling our JavaScript code, as well as a bunch of other tools. So when you create an application using Create React App, you don't have to do any configuration. All the configuration is done for you. However, if you want to customize this configuration for your production environment, you can always eject by running npm run eject. We'll look at this later in the future. So now we have a fully working React app. Let's go to this new folder, React app, and run npm start. So this will launch our development server on port 3000 and open up Chrome or our default browser pointing to localhost port 3000. Now let's go back to VS Code and see what we have in this folder. So here we have 3 folders, Node modules, which is where we have all the third-party libraries as well as React itself. We never have to touch this, so let's not worry about it. We've got this public folder where we have the public assets of our application, such as a favorite icon and index.html. Now, if you look at this file, this is a very simple template. It doesn't really have anything. So a bunch of meta tags in the head section, as well as links to our manifest.json file and favorite icon. Manifest.json includes a bunch of metadata attributes about our application. Again, we don't have to worry about this, but if you look further below, here in the body section, you can see a single div with the ID root. This is where our React application is going to appear. So this div is the container for our React application, as you will see shortly. Now back to our files panel, we've got the source folder where we have a basic component that is app component. And that component is responsible for rendering this black banner on the top. So the output of that component is what you see here. Let's have a quick look at app.js. So you can see here we are using ES6 classes. We have a class called app that extends component, which is one of the built-in classes in React. Now, as you can tell, as a React developer, you need to understand what classes are and how to use them. If you're not familiar with these classes, I have a comprehensive course called Object-Oriented Programming in JavaScript. There, I cover classes in full detail. But to help you get started quickly, in the next section, I'm going to give you a quick overview of all the modern JavaScript features that you're going to use frequently in React applications. So if you're not familiar with classes or modules, don't worry for now. We're going to get to them shortly. Now look at this class. Here we have a render method or a render function where we return a markup like this. Now, this is something you probably haven't seen before because we cannot have markup like this in JavaScript. Note that this is neither a string nor HTML. This is what we call JSX, which stands for JavaScript XML. So we use this syntax, which looks very familiar to us, to describe what the UI is going to look like. So this markup represents this black banner on the top. This is the output of our app component. Now, to make this code work, we have to pass this code through Babel, which is a modern JavaScript compiler. So Babel will take this JSX syntax and convert it to plain JavaScript code that browsers can understand. Let me give you a quick demo. Head over to babeljs.io/REPL or REPL. Here we can type modern JavaScript code, and Babel will convert that code into code that browsers can understand. So here I'm going to define a constant, which is a new ES6 feature, call it element, and set it to a JSX expression. So h1, let's say hello world, and we close it here. Again, note that here we are not setting element to a string. This is JSX, so we don't have quotes here, right? Now on the right side, look, this code is converted to a call to react.createElement. The first argument to this method is h1, which determines the type of our element, And the third argument is the text that we want to put in between these h1 tags. So as you can see, using JSX to describe what the UI looks like is much easier than writing plain React code like this. So in our components, we'll always use JSX, and we'll leave it up to Babel to compile that JSX code into calls to react.createElement. Now back to our files panel. Here we have app.css, which includes all the CSS for our app component. You can see this CSS file is imported into our component here. We also have a test file that is app.test.js. In this course, we're not going to look at testing. That's a topic for my advanced React course. We also have index.js, which is the entry point for our application. Don't worry about the code here. We're going to write it from scratch in the next lecture. Similarly, we have index.css. We also have logo.svg, which is the logo of our application. And finally, register serviceworker.js. This is some code that is automatically generated by Create React App, and it may change or disappear in the future. But at the time of recording this, basically what this file does is it serves assets from a local cache in a production environment. So for now, we don't have to worry about this. Next, I'm going to show you how to write some React code from scratch.